Hello, my name is Erica Lynn Black Bear, and welcome to my Black Bear Awakening YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in. Today we're going to talk about the universe and God, the big picture. I decided to take a break from the Matrix videos. I was just feeling this information coming through strongly, so I decided to head into some of the bigger picture, like universe stuff briefly, and then I'll end up getting back to the Matrix information. Today I wanted to start out with picking a tarot card with the intention that whatever message the collective, either the Earth Collective as a whole or the collective of people that will be watching this video, need to see, hear about. And so I'm going to do that before we get into it. So I'm going to pick from the Mystical Shaman Oracle deck. That's what I was shown to pick from today. So let's see what... Oh. Okay, we got 3 came out. I was expecting 1, but I guess we're going with 3 today. So the first one is number 12. It's the Coyote. They all came upright. So the Coyote is the divine trickster. It is the kind of wrench that gets thrown into your plans when you I feel like you have a clear path forward, and then all of a sudden you get detours and things don't go as planned, but it's definitely for your highest good. Like, the message of this card is that it is the divine working on your behalf, that there are many reasons why something like this could happen. One of them being it's a test of faith, like to keep going in the face of uncertainty, and it's not meant as a punishment. It's more of just teaching you to stay the course when you've set your intentions and you've set your goals, like sticking with it no matter what comes into your path. And so it's very, like, you learn a lot through this experience. Okay. It may be the divine leading you into challenges to ensure that you're prepared for what you've set in motion. And so in this time, a lot of things may surface that need to be cleared out, such as, uncertainty about yourself or not feeling worthy of success. Like, things like that would come up to the surface during this time a lot, typically, to get cleared out so that it's not blocking your path to success, if that makes sense. Okay, so the second card that came up is Beauty Way. And it's the number 4 card, for people who are into numbers. The Beauty Way is both it's the path that you're on, and it's also the way that you travel on it. And so it is choosing to perceive only beauty before you, behind you, in front of you, all around you, like choosing to see the best in every situation, even in a challenging situation, and choosing to bring beauty into the challenging situations, like choosing to be that strength and that pillar for the other people in the situation, choosing to be an example to the other people of a different way of looking at things and a different way of being in a difficult situation. So, you know, finding the lightheartedness, finding the fun in a situation that is difficult, or finding the teachings, the sacred teachings within those difficult moments, because difficult moments are never meant to be a punishment, right? So choosing to see what those difficult times have to actually offer you, like the gems within them. When everyone else only perceives darkness or the difficult, you're bringing the light into the situation, and seeing the beauty within yourself and others, and choosing to only see the beauty in yourself and others, no matter what the choices of others are. Like seeing that they're bringing what the best that they can in that moment, no matter what the person is doing, it's the best that they can bring in that moment, and choosing to see that and understand that and have compassion for the other. And choosing to go through life in this way gives you the lessons of life in a gentle way. It's a easier way in the long run, although it might seem more difficult because sometimes you have to keep your emotions in check. But and the third card that popped out is the Sun, and it's number 53. Yeah, Sun can be representative of both feminine and masculine energy, no matter how you look, or depending on how you look at it. And it shines no matter what is going on. You know, it just keeps shining and is a brilliant light for all beings, basically. It can also be gentle or you know, destructive, depending on the conditions on the planet at the time. The invitation is all about coming out of your cave and being in the sun and rekindling like your passion and your creative force and energy within. And it's a call to shine your light no matter what is happening around you, like shining your light and bringing play and happiness to every situation that you're in. And play is the key here. So really remembering how to play and choosing to bring that energy into your daily life is of the utmost importance right now. I just want to try something new and see how the tarot card feels for everybody. Let me know if you liked that or if it's just a distraction. Okay, so let's get right into the universe and God. The big juicy stuff. Okay, so God, Allah, the universe, the all that is. There's so many different names for this energy, right? And it is all of that. So God is literally, quite literally, all that is. Like, this energy is the underlying creative force in the universe. I always see it as kind of this ball, this gigantic ball of energy that everything sprang out of. And when I look at how the universe was created, it looks to me like a big bang, like everything kind of exploded out from this energy. And we are this energy. Every single thing in the universe is a fractal, a piece of God, of this, of the Great Spirit, of this all that is, the creative energy. And this energy is also the structure underlying the universe. So how I had spoken about grids in a different video, some people call it grids. I mean, you could call it whatever you want. It's just the kind of underlying energetic structure that's sort of holding the universe. That is also God, or whatever you want to call this energy. We're all speaking about the same thing. Human ideas that we place on this energy, but the underlying energy that we're talking about is the same thing, right? It's the creator force in the universe. It's what created the entire universe and is the entire universe. Okay, so there is nothing that you could touch or experience within the universe that is not part of this God energy, this energy, this creative energy underlying the universe. Okay, so there is still, so you could call God, you could call this energy also the biggest collective consciousness, because everything and everyone is part of that energy. And we will all return to that energy when we're done playing in this gigantic playground that we created for ourselves. It gets boring just hanging out in the cosmos, not doing anything. And so God, we decided to create this playground for ourselves to experience. And it was a learning too. So like the idea was that God would be able to see from every different perspective, like, okay, the rocks, the planets, the humans, the moon, like from every different perspective. The idea was to understand everything else from each point of reference. So point of reference, by that I just mean like where there's a concentration of consciousness. So the moon, the earth, a human, a frog, you know, a Arcturian, like each focus of consciousness, and that's what we are, is a focus point of consciousness, being able, so like God being able to understand all of the different experiences that particular focal point will experience from that perspective. And then from the perspective of their partner, and then from the perspective of their daughter, and then from the perspective of their dog, and then, you know, each so God is understanding everything all at once, each point of consciousness. Okay, and so this is the largest collective consciousness in the universe that we're all a part of, that we will all return to when we're done with our own experiences, or we would like a resting point for a while. We can return to that collective energy when our quote unquote contracts are up. So I'll get more into that. And so then we will, once we complete our kind of agreements of what we wanted to experience and what we wanted to help others experience in a number of lifetimes, then when those are kind of up, we can decide to keep playing in the playground, or we can decide to go back to the larger collective consciousness. Now, that collective consciousness stays intact, even though it's then spread itself out throughout the universe. Like the core of the God energy is still there, is still intact, and is still interacting. I mean, everything you interact with is God. That's God interacting with you. That is God cultivating your experience is so personal and so loving, and so like, that is the truth of it, is that everything that you experience comes from a place of love and compassion for you, for your experience. And that's all that it really is. It is similar to being a drop within the ocean. You are both the ocean and the drop. Okay? Great Spirit is then split into all these individual individual consciousnesses. Okay, so the drops within the ocean. What happens is that when those drops leave, which you don't ever actually leave, but I mean leave that collection of the consciousnesses, when you leave that, there are different focal points as you descend, because you are all that is at your core, and it is a descension process. So you're that highest energy at your core. That is who you are, and you can never change that. That is who all of us are. Every single thing is that. And okay, so that is a super, obviously, really intense, powerful energy. The most powerful energy in this universe, right, is this great spirit. Okay, now as you go through the descension process, you could say, okay, so the individual focal point that you are as who you are in this body is not even all of who you are either. So as you leave that initial collective grouping, the great spirit, you come out. It's like, I see it as like an energy stream. So you kind of come out of the collective, and then there's a concentrated focal point. Okay, so there you have a concentrated focal point that is always in the collective consciousness. So your drop doesn't leave that. Part of your drop leaves that. So you're able to fractalize yourself. So the big collective consciousness fractalized or split itself into all these different consciousnesses. And then your individual part of that grouping can also fractalize itself. So it leaves. So there's a piece within the collective that never leaves. Then there's a piece right outside of the collective, very close to the collective, that is a little slightly less fully conscious. So you could say that in the collective consciousness, you're fully awakened. Okay, that is the most fully awakened that you can be within that largest collective consciousness. Then you lose or forget part of that every time you split off from it. Okay, so there's the piece within the collective consciousness that is all that is. That is you. That is who you really are. Then there's a piece right outside of the collective, outside or within a space within that is this playground, that you are slightly less of that fullness of that whole consciousness. Okay, that piece would be just slightly less conscious, just slightly off from the wholeness. And then that splits into multiple other points of consciousness. So that next piece will split off into a lot of different consciousnesses, points of consciousness for different experiences. So you would have one of those points of consciousness right around the earth that you're incarnating in. And then that point of consciousness splits into multiple lifetimes where you're incarnating here on earth. And then you have another, so you could consider that earth, that larger earth point of contact, point of consciousness. You could, some people call that the oversoul, okay? Or the piece right outside or right within the collective consciousness that is slightly less than the collective consciousness. That's the oversoul. And then you have an oversoul that is the human collective piece. And then you have that fractalize itself, or, you know, pieces of yourself break off. And then that is all of your incarnations here on earth. So it's kind of like, it ends up being kind of like a spider web of energy streams that actually split off from the initial gigantic collective consciousness. So then here's the collective consciousness from that piece of yourself that's kind of right outside or whatever, like right below, you might say, that whole collective consciousness. That's where your different oversouls split off from to be a part. So let's say you have one in earth, obviously, because you're here. And then you have another oversoul that broke off from that larger oversoul that is, you know, Arcturian. Okay, so then you have that oversoul, and then all of the incarnations from your Arcturian experience splits off from that part of your oversoul. Okay, so and then so people call like your higher self. When I understand that concept, I don't think people are talking about the oversoul. I think they're talking about the point of consciousness that attaches to this body. This particular body would be considered what people call your higher self. Now, obviously your higher self is you, but when you incarnate into this playground, it was designed in that you forget the wholeness of who you are so that you could stay in this density. Because if you remembered it, you're not, at your core, you're not constrained by any of the laws in the universe, because you created the laws in the universe, right? So the laws are there. It's the agreements that we agreed to be able to create this environment, this structure that we're playing in. And so if you remembered the wholeness of who you are, you would not be able to stay contained within this tiny human body that is not able to encompass all of who you are. And that's why there's the splitting, right? Because if the fractal of you that is from the actual from God, the Great Spirit collective consciousness, if the fractal of you from there tried to incarnate into a human body, it would be like, the energy of you, the whole power of your energy would kind of like blow this body apart. It just would not be able to handle it. Okay, so that's why there's these splitting of your energies, because you have to get to a point where you're a smaller portion of your full energy, because then you can be in this body without harming it, without disintegrating it. Because I think that's what it would happen if your full energy, and that is, like, I'm not exaggerating, that is the intensity of each of us. Like, we have that energy behind our energy. Each fractal, it might be a smaller portion of that energy, but each fractal contains all that you are. So even though we forget when we come into this body, which was by design, like, that's intentional, and I'll go more into that in a different video, but even though we forget, we still contain all of the data sets that we contained at the source. Like our higher self, our soul holds that information. It holds the information of all of our incarnations here on Earth and other planetary systems. Like our soul has that knowledge, and it has our past incarnations and our future incarnations, which aren't an actual accurate term. When people say that everything is happening in the now, that is true, because and you can access it all in the now. So you can access you can speak with other fractalized versions of yourself that are incarnated, you know, on Alpha Draconia, you know, the Alpha Draconian planet. If you have an oversoul that is, if you have an agreement to be a part of that experience also, which almost all of us would have different incarnations in other planetary systems and other experiences. Sometimes your soul agrees to be a part of the whole of the, so we'll take humans, the whole of the human experience, until humans evolve so far that their evolution has been completed. And then that kind of completes your contract, if your contract was to be a part of the whole of the human experience. Now, there are people who come in and out of different experiences, souls who decide to come in a certain, you know, there are humans here right now that are not signed on for the whole of the human experience, the whole of the earth experience. They may just have a couple incarnations here just for their own learning and their own understanding, or they may come here for a certain purpose, like in this time period, to help humanity through this shift that humanity is experiencing right now and will continue to experience. And that is true of any planetary system. Okay, so your oversoul would also potentially split into, it wouldn't just be like humanoid experiences. You would have animal experiences as animals, as fish, as trees, as rocks, as planets, as moons, as, you know, you would have a lot of different experiences. So you may have an oversoul, so to speak, that has different star incarnations, you know. So oversoul itself kind of has like a mission, you might say, or like a purpose for being there, meaning that when it splits off with intelligence. Like there's an oversoul for the human experience, there's an oversoul perhaps for different star experiences, there's an oversoul for maybe galaxy experiences, because you have a point of consciousness within the whole of the galaxy that you're experiencing yourself as a galaxy. Like, and those larger bodies would be collective consciousnesses. Like Earth would have multiple different oversouls, would have a point of consciousness that is part of the Earth soul. Okay, so the larger bodies would be a collective consciousness within itself. Okay, so yes, it can get a little like overwhelming, like to the brain, to the human brain. It's like when I follow into the energy of this, like sometimes my brain is like, okay, I'm gonna short out. there is this great spirit energy, and then there is what many of the Native American peoples on this planet called great mystery. So this is beyond God, great spirit. This is beyond that. So our God is our universe. You could use those terms interchangeably. It's everything. Okay, so that's us, our God, our larger collective consciousness. But then there is something that the Native peoples called great mystery, and that is what is beyond God. Like, who created God? Okay, and that is the term that these people were trying to, put a term to what that is. So you could call that great mystery. As far as I understand it, nobody knows what that actually is. Like, I don't think God fully comprehends that either. Like, our whole collective consciousness, I think my understanding is that part of this learning and understanding is to try to get to the full understanding of what that great mystery is. Because I don't think, my understanding is that God itself, God is all knowing in this universe. My understanding is that God is not all knowing in all the universes, because it's a multiverse. Okay, so let me get into that for a second. So we have this universe, and then think of, like, there would be a parallel universe, and then another parallel universe, and then another parallel universe. And each universe would be created by their own God, or their own collective consciousness energy, or their own great spirit energy. So each universe would be created. So there's a lot of what you might consider gods. Okay. And, well, yeah. Okay. So each universe, each creative consciousness within their own universe creates their universe how they want. Some universes might be very similar to this one with slight differences. And I mean, they would be very energetically different because they're created by a different energy. But I'm just saying, like, when you might look into those universes, they might be so similar, like with a lot of humanoid style species, and maybe plants and animal life like we have, and planets and da 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 da, but like there would be subtle differences. But then there would be universes that are so different that our brains couldn't even comprehend it. Like, we couldn't even think up, because we have no point of reference for how different they would be, right? And so my understanding is that you can kind of, the you that is the oversoul aspect of you, my understanding is that portion can peer into other universes to kind of get an observation of what that feels like. But you don't, when you're in this universe, you don't really like incarnate in other universes in that sense. My understanding is that you complete the full this universe experience, and then you could decide to go into another universe. That is my understanding of it. So there is some mystery with that, but on my end at least. But okay, so you could peer in. So yes, so there's, I mean, infinite different universes out there. it kind of blows my mind when I try to feel into that energy. Like, yeah, it's just really a lot. And then so the great mystery would be outside of all of those universes. This is like, how did all of this start? That's the concept of great mystery, is trying to put a name to that energy. Like, how did each of these universes start? Like, who created these gods? Like, and I mean, as above, so below, that how that saying is in this universe. Like, if you follow that back, so like, okay, I'm a fractal of the God, of my oversoul, which is a fractal of my higher oversoul, which is a fractal of my drop within the collective consciousness of God in this universe. And then that God, perhaps our God, our whole God, maybe was a fractal of a different, larger energy that is outside of this universe. Like, you could potentially follow that back. Like, how far does it go? Like, how did this all start? That's the great mystery. That is the trying to put a name to, like, how did this all begin, kind of thing. So it is a mystery. So the multiverses are outside of this universe, but then you could consider this universe in a lot of ways to be a multiverse too. Not in the same sense of how there's external multiverses, but each individualized portion of consciousness, your higher self, each fractal is creating its own universe, technically, within this universe. Like, your experience is so tailored to you that it is your experience is like your own universe, and your daughter's experience is like her own universe, and your dog's experience is like his own universe, and the frog outside your house has its own perception of a universe. So you could consider our universe to be a multiverse in that way, because each individualized fractal is experiencing its own universe that is overlaid with all the other universes, and they're all interacting. But technically, your experience is so personalized that you could consider it your own universe, because every choice you make is reflected in your outside world, not forcing others to have that reflection. Vibration that you're putting off and the vibration others are putting off, you magnetize each other to have certain experiences based on what your desires were prior to incarnating, and then your desires as you go through your incarnation, because you may have different desires that you create within your incarnation. So your experience is not solely like destiny does not dictate your whole experience, although there are parts of your experience like that. Like, when you decided to incarnate, your soul chose certain experiences. Like, most of the big experiences in your life, like who your parents were, or more so not who they were, but what did they represent to you that you wanted to experience in this lifetime. Maybe you decided to have a harder experience. Maybe you decided to have an easier experience, from a human perspective, harder, easier. But so you made a lot of decisions prior to incarnating that create your experience here. So but then during your incarnation, you also do have the free will to decide if there are things that you want to experience, you know, that you just didn't decide to before you incarnated. You can also create those experiences while you're here. So it's not all predestined, but some of it is because you decided. It's not, well, it's God because you're God. Yes, you could call it that God decided, but it was you, your individualized fractal of God, your specific point of consciousness of God decided those experiences for yourself before you incarnated here. Other mind fuck about the universe is that yes, everything is happening now. So you can access from this point of consciousness that you are now, you can access every single other points of consciousness that your over soul has chosen. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's all happening simultaneously. Like it is, but it's not. It doesn't mean that the consciousness that is experiencing it all, it doesn't mean that it's all happening simultaneously. It's like really hard to put this into words. It's things that I've experienced in visions that I'm trying to put into words. So it's a little bit difficult to put into words, but there is no like time and really space in the universe, although there is. There's a lot of like paradoxes that are true in the universe. And so it is a little bit hard for the human brain to grasp, but so yes, everything is happening now, but no, everything is not technically happening now. Like depending on your point of reference, your particular incarnation, understanding of time and space in that realm, it gets complicated and very interesting. Because you could look at it a lot of different ways. Like you could look at it like, yes, it's all happening now and it's all simultaneous. And you could also look at it like, no, you can access all of it now, but it's not all happening simultaneous. Like you could look at it any of those ways and be right. Like it's this God energy is all encompassing. It is, everything is right. Like your perspective is right, my perspective is right, that frog's perspective is right, you know, it's that tree's perspective is right. Like everybody's perspective is right. It may be that certain perspectives only have certain pieces of the whole of the truth of what everything is, but that doesn't mean that their perspective is wrong. It just means that their perspective is what it is from their point of reference, and that is freaking right, you know? And okay, so the multiverses within this universe, and to even more complicate things, this isn't the first universe that we've created and collapsed. So we created a universe, and then we've had them collapse before, and then we've created another, and then we've had it collapse. So the energetic imprint of those universes is still there, is still overlaid. And you can never create a universe exactly the same as the previous universe. So each universe that our collective consciousness, our God has created, has been slightly different. So you could consider that a multiverse because you could still access that information in the here and now. It all gets real real weird and real complicated real fast, okay? But it's so interesting and it's so fun. I also want to put in this part to this. Having said that God is all that is, the things that are perceived from a human standpoint as negative or bad, and from a human standpoint, I mean, because in the larger scheme of things, from the collective consciousness, or even the direct oversoul's consciousness, the things that are considered bad on Earth are not seen that way necessarily in the cosmos, on a universal level. Everything is God. So even the beings that are choosing to harm another, that's still God. It is a God that forgot who they are, but it is still God. So there is no right or wrong. There is no judgment. It is just seen as kind of a soul that got lost, and there is only love and compassion to bring that soul or those beings, a collective of beings, back into balance and alignment, because that is also, God is a balancing energy. It seeks to balance itself always. And if there is an imbalance happening somewhere, there always will be assistance to bring it back into balance. That's why what is happening on the earth right now, with the matrix system and the effects of the matrix system, there is a ton of help being sent from benevolent species to assist humanity, and because we are ready to come out of that system. We're ready to, we've reached a tipping point to where enough human being souls on the planet, the individuals, have decided, I've had enough. At their soul level, they've decided, enough is enough. I don't want to be stuck in this lower vibrational energy anymore. And so there was waves of assistance that were sent to Earth, both that are incarnated here on Earth and that are beings that are in their own realms, incarnated in their own realms, meaning other species that came to Earth to bring assistance and support and raise the vibration of the planet. And so that's what's happening right now. When people talk about the crystal children and the indigo children and the star seeds, those are the beings that they're talking about. These extraterrestrials from other species incarnated here to assist elevating the vibration of the planet, so that it was easier for the human collective to move out of this lower vibrational matrix system. It doesn't mean that humans don't have to do anything themselves. They do. There's a lot of work to be done, but there's been assistance coming. So you're never left in a situation without their help being sent. And as messed up as it may sound, the difficult parts that we have seen on this planet, the difficult things, the wars, the abuses, the difficulties in the family lines, the sacrifices, the murders, all of those from a larger collective understanding, a higher understanding, it is seen in gratitude, because there was so much understanding and truth and teaching that was happened through those experiences. Now, it was not necessarily like designed into the idea of what we wanted. That isn't what happened. It was more of like circumstances based on like X happened, then Y happened, then Z happened, to all create a perfect storm, to create the beings that got lost and then were harming others and harming themselves in the process. Because when you harm others, you are literally harming yourself, because you've forgotten that you're God and that we're all God. We can all feel on some level those difficulties. And so from the perspective of higher dimensional experiences and then God itself, the collective consciousness itself, there is actually gratitude for the experiences of that, because we've had, in different universes, we've had those lower vibrational energies happen also, and they managed to rip a hole in the universal fabric so deep that it collapsed the universe. That was how the universes were, the previous universes that we created collapsed. And so having the understanding that we learned from the experiences, particularly of what Earth has gone through and humanity has gone through, we learned how to better assist when something like that is happening. Because we've learned that it's impossible to create a universe where there isn't some of us that fall into those lower vibrational experiences. We've come to the understanding that not necessarily that it's inevitable to happen, but that it's very likely to happen based on the type of experiences that we're choosing to have within this universe. Okay? And so that being said, when there is those experiences happening, it's seen as a learning, as an opportunity for us on a large scale collective level to learn better how to both prevent those experiences, but also help the beings that are in those experiences come back out of it more quickly, so that it's not spreading as fully and as quickly as it has. And we are seeing success in this universe with that, in this Earth experience with that. We're seeing the results of our further understanding of those energies. And so that is why there is gratitude given to those seen from those experiences, are seen with gratitude, because we're able, through the harder experiences, to become more compassionate and understand how to work with those energies more quickly and efficiently for the highest good of all beings. Because that is the underlying theme of the universe, is what is good, what is the best outcome for all beings in an experience. Okay? And that's always the truth of this universe, is that we're always striving to create a scenario that is the highest good for all beings involved. And so when there's beings that get lost in those really difficult, dark experiences, because it is much harder for the being that is creating those experiences for others and for itself, it's much harder for that being than it is for the beings on the receiving end. Okay, think about like the guilt and the self-loathing that would create within those beings, because they are experiencing the experience in a lot of the same ways that all the rest of us are. And we know that when we end up harming others, like that's how we feel deep down underneath it. There is so much guilt and so much like self-loathing happening. So the truth of it is that it's more difficult for those beings that are on the perpetrator end of the spectrum. And so there is a lot of love and compassion sent to those beings. It's not seen as like, oh, you just wipe it all away and, you know, brush it under the rug. But the true healing comes from being able to come to a place of compassion and truly love for the reflection of yourself that is in that being that's causing that harm to others. Because that is truly what it is. And when you can get to a place of that, whew, that is a place of power. That is the place of power. So I just wanted to touch on that in this video because I feel like that's really important based on where Earth is and humans are in our development and where we're headed. I just feel like it's important to put that piece in there about how this is seen on a universal scale. What is happening here, how it's seen on a universal scale. Okay. And I think I'm going to end the video there. Thank you for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed. And if you did, if you can like the video and subscribe to my channel, that would be amazing. And I will just keep popping out these videos. And thank you for watching. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.